Buildify announces launch of its new website www.buildify.com. Download detailed ebooks of houses in India with technical plans and fact files. Subscribe to buildify.com and download one ebook free.
Me and my wife founded this company about 20 years back. We are a multidisciplinary company specializing in architecture, interiors and lighting projects, all being handled under one roof, mostly focused on hospitality projects. The design philosophy emanates from the fact that we don't want or be stereotyped by a specific style of design. We want to experiment and do contextual design which stands the test of time. So the client is a prominent jeweler family of Jaipur, and they own this 1.3 acres parcel of land right in the heart of Jaipur next to civil lines, and they aspired to diversify their business, and that's how the idea of an upmarket hotel came up. So the site is located in next to civil lines area in Jaipur, 1.3 acre land parcel, and with a profile which is L-shaped. Serviced by, that's the main road, and this parcel actually goes and hits road here. So we have that as a road. This one here is also a secondary road. This bit did not belong to the owner, and we had commercial development here, low-rise residential development here, residential low-rise development here, and high-rise residential development this side. The site more or less faces north, and being serviced by two roads actually helped in terms of deriving the entrance and segregating service traffic with the guest traffic, which is a prerequisite in an upmarket hotel. Apart from that, a pretty tight land parcel in heavily populated locale. Now, looking at the site context, we first of all decided to place the tower, which is the key element in any hotel, along the eastern edge, and expanded the building at podium level to the western edge. A landscape cutout was introduced on the eastern side to be able to bring natural light to banquet and pre-function facility, which had to be taken to the basement given the very tight footprint of the site that we had. Guest entry was derived from the main road, and the circulation was kept pretty simple. In, out, going to the ramp, parking, or coming back from the ramp, joining in, picking up and going out. The service was taken from the service road, looped and out. So this became the sort of service entry to the hotel. This became the guest entry to the hotel. So the architecture actually derives inspiration in terms of traditional elements being interpreted in a modern form, because Hilton as a brand has a very modern DNA. And but the challenge was we did not want to be blown away by doing another glass concrete building in a locality like Jaipur, which has a very rich traditional history of architecture. In old palaces, when there were long and high walls which had to be treated, they resorted to elements like turrets, which happened in a series, and they were always topped by a dome. Now imagine this in a series happening over a very long wall. Now the challenge with the tower, which is 35 meters high in our case, is to be able to break that facade. We took inspiration from that, and the base is much lower in this case. That's the built-up mass that you're looking at. The turrets were translated in form of linear pillars interspersing the facade at this point, and the top dome was actually articulated in the form of a sloping profile which ends on top. Lights up in the evening, looks beautiful, breaks the monotony of the facade, yet gets inspiration from what was done traditionally on the facades of the forts. So this gives a very nice volumetric composition to the overall form, and we are very glued into sustainable design. So curtain wall, if you see in site context, has only been used in north-northeast facing facade, and this also incidentally had the best views of Aravali Hills through the curtain wall. So that worked both ways for us. And so when we thought about interiors, we wanted the architectural theme, that is marrying the tradition with the modern, to continue in the interior spaces as well, so the guest experience remains consistent throughout the property. And let's talk about the pre-function space to begin with. So the pre-function space abutting the ballroom was a linear space, and we took inspiration from the series of arches that you see in Amer Palace and translated that into a series of rectangular portals in that pre-function space. Effect remains the same, but it's been totally translated into a very modern manner. Similarly, these architectural elements, these traditional architectural elements also took into the interiors as well. And a very classical example in this case would be the lobby, which is inspired by the soffit of domes or chhatris that are traditionally used a lot in Rajasthan and especially in Jaipur area, with fretwork and jalis. So if you look at the lobby interior, the dome is stylized in an elliptical form, the soffit of the dome, and you have a hanging chandelier which is round in shape, sort of capturing the essence of that dome soffit, creating a tension in the visual axis of an onlooker. And the jalis, instead of using the traditional forms, have been sort of molded into an abstract form, oversized and used on an entire wall of the lobby. The elliptical plan shape of the lobby also helps in creating that tension, the visual tension that is required in a space which is competing with that round chandelier hanging in an elliptical space and in an elliptical ceiling profile. Similarly, all-day dining took inspiration from the jalis of Rajasthan, and you will see that on an open ceiling there are floating panels with random jali patterns inscribed on them. They're carved, inscribed, there are a lot of things going on the ceiling. Otherwise the interiors is absolutely plain and modern. And then accents like temple bell inspired exhaust hoods over tandoors were used to hold attention of an onlooker at eye level, and on the ceiling level is full of jalis, a suspension of jalis. The ballroom again takes inspiration from the very bright colors that are worn by locals here. So the palette is celebratory in nature. It's colorful, it's bright, it's not like a regular hotel ballroom that you would see, and connects you immediately to the local look and feel with oversized jalis, the bright color palette that's been utilized in the ballroom space. So the next F&B joint that I'd like to talk about is the bar. Now this takes inspiration again from the wood ceilings and suspended light fixtures in old palaces. That's been translated into very modern wooden ceiling with suspension of crystal lights all along the ceiling, creating that twinkling effect, giving a very moody effect to the bar. The Indian specialty restaurant takes after the silverware that's used in Rajasthan, and so the palette is white, grey and silver in nature, and very simple touches like the water body that you see outside on the terrace has these water jets that again form a series of water arches that remind you of where you are. Typical guest rooms, since the guest is exposed to so much of visual aplomb in the entire property, we wanted to keep the palette and everything subdued in terms of interiors in the room. But there's just one inspired piece of art above the bed which captures the essence and reminds you or gives you a sense of place in the room, that captures the bright colors, that captures the jalis, that captures all the traditional elements in just one piece of art, and everything else works around that piece of art. Similarly, the suites, because of the nature of the space itself, they are just behind the glass curtain wall which faces north-northeast, have great views of Aravallis, and the space itself is offbeat, but the treatment of it, again in terms of the carpet, the palette, takes cue from traditional elements and has been put or translated into a modern context so that they are not overbearing on the guest experience. Spa, in an Indian context, we thought of a people leaf as a motif which connects you to Ayurveda and our tradition of Ayurveda. So the people leaf has been used extensively in various shapes, sizes, collages, combinations, materials. We played around with that people leaf which is spread throughout the spa, giving it that typical Rajasthani Indian flavor. And elements like horizontal jalis which are lit up again in an abstract pattern also follows you around the entire space.